With so much talk in the news recently about the esports bubble bursting, major firings at high-end esports teams, the Guard releasing its entire content staff, Smash players losing their sponsorships en masse, it seems like esports is dying and there's not that much that we can do about it. So that begs the question then, what does it take to actually run an esports team? And what if someone were to step in and do it the right way? Not with big dreams and promises, but instead with realistic ideas and running it the right way. Welcome back to another episode of Off the Dome. My name is Dominic. Today, I have a very special announcement. It's been a long time coming. I'd like to announce the Off the Dome Esports Valorant Collective. OTT EVC for short, this new project is going to take the esports scene by storm. Players in your favorite games, content creators in your favorite content, podcasters talking about things, OnlyFans, we got that too, tons of money, NFTs, Bhutanese Shadow Garden Dark Evil. That's horseshit. We could never actually make a team, eh?
Alright, geez, don't get mad at me. You're the one who greenlit this. Also, you're the only person in the room right now.
Right.
Oh.
So maybe I don't actually know what it takes to run an esports team. Frankly, it feels like a lot of people don't know what it takes to run an esports team. So it feels like every other week you hear a story about a team or organization that has gone under, hasn't paid their players, is doing crypto scams, and sometimes these organizations aren't named FaZe Clan. It's a huge hit that a few weeks ago, the Guard, a team backed by one of the biggest sports entertainment groups in the world, a team leading the pack in North America VCLs, a team predicated on its content, evaporated out of thin air in a single day. Running an esports team is hard, especially beyond the flash and the spectacle of signing their players and playing in tournaments. In the back end, esports is a business. It's about making money and doing it right. A lot of teams form out of passion of the game, and blind passion usually doesn't lead to a strong foundation, so the cracks begin to form eventually. I am not personally a business guy, I'm an esports guy. I love the small details of teams, their identities, their motivations, facilities, and how it all forms together to benefit a team of youngsters to win at a children's game. I also think a lot of people underestimate the cost of running an esports team, the care, the vision, and the experience to succeed properly. So I wanted to learn a little bit more about this, and so I went out and contacted one of the most experienced CEOs in esports right now, Marco from M80. M80, if you don't know, is leading the team in the VCLs, doing an amazing job. I got a chance to talk to him, and I want to see what I can learn about running an esports team and how he does it to such a high degree. Before we get into that though, I want to give a quick shout out to my new, not so new podcast that I host called The Weekly Defuse. While this channel I use to focus more on the esports broader and dive into stats and whatnot, The Weekly Defuse will be the place where you can stay up to date on the weekly Valorant lore. America's International League standings, North America's Challengers League, where M80 is actually looking like a top 5 team in North America right now, any news or roster changes, plus a little extra rankings, brackets, and tier lists, they're all there. Episodes previously have been split between my second channel, Dominic Live, and my co-host Galaxy's channel, but we finally made our own channel. Give it a subscribe, follow it on Twitter for short-form news as it releases. That would all be amazing. Now back to the video. For those who don't know, this is Marco, the founder of both XSET and M80, two of the most influential teams in North American Valorant. With XSET, he was able to collect future all-time talents like Zekin and Cryocells and compete at the highest level both in NA and even make it to the world stage on multiple occasions. After a lack of franchising, he moved his efforts to a new organization, M80. Assembling the pieces of some of North America's best, they are currently one of the favorites to qualify for NA's franchising slot this upcoming Ascension bracket. So he's pretty acclaimed. How was he able to become so acclaimed in the esports space? This is the first thing I wanted to ask him. How did he actually get his start in esports?
My original path was, I actually went to law school, became an attorney, and I practiced law for about 9 years in Boston. Ultimately, got bored in that line of work and just wasn't really having a lot of fun. And this is back in 2009, and I decided that I wanted to move into what was really a passion of mine and always really has been my whole life, which is the game industry and gaming. My first job in the industry was running one of the biggest browser-based games in the world, a game called Company. I ran that game. I worked in game development and game publishing for years, and then I started my first company in 2013, which was a mobile game publishing company. I started another company after that called Rooster, which is a influencer platform for mobile games and YouTubers. And then I started a content network called Framerate in 2018. And then in 2020, I was very obviously, passionate about esports as any, big gaming fan generally is. And then I got together with some guys that I knew and had an idea for creating a new type of esports organization. And we started XSET, and as a co-founder, I ran all the gaming as the chief operating officer. Built all the teams there, built all the rosters there, managed all the players. Had a lot of success with that organization and with some of those rosters. Still friends with a lot of those players and talk to those guys on a daily basis. And then, earlier this year decided that, as companies grow, visions change, and some of the things that I developed were probably a little bit different than some of my partners. So I decided that it might be better for me to kind of head off in a different direction and kind of take my vision and my passion in that direction, right?
It's interesting that he didn't actually start as a pro player. He was just a fan of the game and of the space. He used what he had and what he learned throughout his long career to put it towards esports. And I asked him what was the best skill that he'd learned along the way, and his answer kind of surprised me.
Like the legal stuff is great. It's useful. I think more so on the business side. I think if anything, I also spent 8 years as a bartender all through undergrad. If I were to say anything helped me more on the player side or the relationship side, it's really the skills that you learn like in the service industry, like just, being honest and genuine and talking to players. I mean, one thing that a lot of my previous and current players say is they just find me to be very approachable and engaging, committed to them. I definitely feel like I make an effort to run a player-focused organization, treat them fairly, be honest with them and open with them about like what we're doing, what we're not doing. I mean, nothing makes me happier than to see younger people like overachieve. Give them the resources to elevate their own careers because they do the hard work. But it's just it's a great thing to be able to do that. That enables me to maintain long-term relationships with a lot of my existing players and previous players. I still talk to all the old Next Valorant guys as well. And it allowed me to put together probably one of the most impressive, if not the most impressive rosters in North American Valorant on paper. For challengers this stage, right? So we've got some of the best players that a lot of think one of those guys, right? But they chose to come play at M80, which is a brand new war.
The biggest takeaway that I understood about his mindset on running a successful esports organization is to trust your players. He doesn't necessarily view himself as the all-knowing force in everything Valorant, nor is he hands-off and just reaps the rewards of their success, but sees himself as part of the team. He contributes where he knows that he can and allows the experts in the game to focus on the game. Although that seems pretty self-explanatory, to do that in a business setting where you're staking your success on others' performances is a test of patience and trust. And this has proved him successful time and time again. But how is actually starting a new team? How do you build up the hype and identity for a new organization?
So you can always start out with a vision, right? And you can always start out with what you want the brand, like the organization to feel and look like. But ultimately, that it's going to be a result of like what you do. And with that said, we have a lot of vision there, and I think the success of the esports teams really allowed it to become a pretty well-regarded esports organization as well, like fairly quickly. With M80, it's a whole new world really for us. We have a lot of long-term prospects for what we think this is about. But ultimately, with M80, the most important thing is we're focused on being a championship-driven organization. Right? So winning is really important. You see a lot of people out there talk about, winning doesn't matter in esports, and nobody cares if you win or not, about how many views you get or how many sponsorships you get. Those people generally have never won, right? Because winning is the most important thing for your brand. It's what differentiates you from 1,001 other esports teams that are out there, right? It's what's allowed brands like Cloud9 and G2 over the years to develop what are now some of the preeminent brands in esports, is because they win. Winning is something that you can put as much money as you want. If you're winning and you're successful, that I think just flows into the rest of the organization. It flows into your brand. It flows into people that want to play for you. It flows into brands that want to work with you. It flows into every aspect of what you're building.
What I think he's sort of getting at here is the misconstrued cycle of building an organization. Building an organization off the idea of winning a championship is hard in most traditional senses. Players are expensive, the competition is fierce, so a lot of organizations specialize in content and branding to build themselves up towards becoming a more prestigious organization. But Marco has a slightly different idea. In a game like Valorant, the talent pool is so dense, a tier 1 team is just sitting and waiting around for opportunities. Thus, the traditional view is proving to counter the modern doomer-esque view of the esports scene. While they're still focused on being a brand, they want to make people buy their merch because they like the team, not like their team because they buy the merch.
There's a lot of esports teams obviously having trouble out there right now. We are really, I feel like, part of a newer generation of esports organizations and companies that are coming out there. I almost kind of feel like we're part of this new indie group of orgs. You've got like M80, you've got Moist, right, with Charlie and Critical, and what those guys have been able to do as a smaller organization with some success and a few titles. You've got even Disguised Toast running his own challenge. Yeah, these newer, like, I think more mobile, more agile esports organizations that are not dominated and controlled by, corporations or, big VCs. It allows us to move a little bit quicker, right? And be more agile. It's more of a startup feel, right, to esports. But I think we've demonstrated that you can be a smaller, independent esports org and have success, at the highest levels.
The last thing I want to highlight here is the benefit of mobility within an esports organization. Esports is a fast industry and you need to be able to keep up to play at the top. I'm not necessarily talking about NFTs and crypto, but instead providing players with the best resources possible. The bigger the organization, the more difficult it is to have control over that function. So running a smaller or indie esports organization like Marco does gives him more control over that. There are more tidbits in my interview with Marco that I couldn't quite fit into this video, but if you want to go see the full interview, including a story about how he actually scouted Zekken at a high school Valorant tournament, go over to my second channel, Dominic Live, to watch that in full, and subscribe if you're there too, please. I wanted to make this video to highlight just some of the experience needed to run an esports team at that level. It's easy to look at management as the arbiter of success, but it is a mix of everything in order to run such a successful team. The ideas that Marco hold in terms of running an esports team seem to be knowing who to hire, trusting his players, developing a winning culture, and prioritizing team mobility. These ideas on their own make an org functional, but all together make it successful. The Guard was not seemingly a poorly run organization, but instead lacked one of the most important things: trust. Without the faith from the higher-ups at Cronky, this team was simply just working on borrowed time. Now, Marco is not the Michael Jordan of running an organization in either of the analogies but his experience across so many fields informs how he manages. Working in management, law, which caught me by surprise actually, and even working at a bar seem to be very influential in how he runs his organization and make sure everything goes smoothly. A lot of people specialize into the esports and getting a degree in esports work, which I think is a really odd idea. Esports in itself isn't a skill, but to contribute to winning in your organization, you need to use everything you've learned throughout your past to inform how you do it. Like Marco said, money can't buy you wins, but hard work and trust can let you earn them yourself. As for me, I don't think I have the chops to run an esports organization. Maybe with a few more subscribers, hit the bell right over there, maybe I can do it. But I think I need a little bit more experience on my own. Maybe I need to go to law school, maybe I need to work at a bar, whatever it is. Until then, I'm gonna keep doing what I'm good at, making videos. So everybody, thank you for watching. Have a good one. I'll see you next time.